Hello, flowers researchers, debaters and debunkers. Just fixing up the bike here. Some oil feed trouble, and just thought it was apt to talk about oil and the enslavement that it produces. Heard some news yesterday that OPEC is basically holding off all the nations, the corporate nations involved in OPEC are keeping production low for the next year or so at least. It's basically artificial scarcity, which is a common thing in the consumerist society we're dealing with. And you know, just like diamonds, they're not rare at all. They're very common, but of course the price is maintained by creating the artificial scarcity. And of course that's what they're doing with the oil. So I mean, they're just being blatant about it. You know, they've agreed to not produce as much oil as they can in order to keep the prices high. So what does that mean for the average oil consumer, which is kind of 99.9% of the global population? It means that we continue to pay high prices for the things that we need, because this cartel has made a decision to keep the prices high by introducing or continuing their artificial scarcity. And of course, this, you know, the media is full of this saber rattling between the US and Iran, and you know, oil tankers mysteriously get attacked, and it's all just part of the global political agenda to keep us enslaved in this. Well, you know, we have. It is necessary for us to use oil. We're not given much choice. And of course, all the political wrangling will centre around this global oil business model. Instead of a prime minister or president giving the general public the ability to create their own fuel, produce their own energy, we are dependent upon the cartel. And that's just the way it goes. That's the corporate enslavement that we find ourselves in. And what are most people going to do about it? Nothing. What can you do about it? Well, you can obviously find ways to not be dependent on the system. Very difficult, I know, but the thing is, you can't wait for other people to do that. We have to free ourselves individually from this form of slavery, which is, you know, debt slavery, power, energy slavery. Yeah, it's and this happens all the time. You know, whether it's planned obsolescence, artificial scarcity. These are just things that are put in place to keep us enslaved. And of course, the idea that we're living on a globe with finite resources adds to that. But you know, the thing is, oil is being constantly produced by the earth. Now, I'm not advocating you know, always being dependent on oil and you know, pollution, etc. There are so many other alternatives out there, even, you know, just grabbing the energy from the air. But of course, that's why people like Tesla were thrown under the bus, even though, you know, he actually see him producing energy, just grabbing energy out of the air. But no, we're not going to be allowed to do that, are we? So it's just people. I mean, it's all connected, isn't it? It's all the whole thing. The globe is just this construct of, it's a mental, it's a mind prison, yeah? It's a jail in which we. Oh, okay. Phone's given up on me. Yeah, you know, so we are imprisoned in this global system, and you know, then we're given all these stories about global warming and depleting resources and what have you. Now this is, I'm having difficulty Jimmy rigging this. What I'm trying to do here is tighten up a loose fuel line with some wire, because I don't have the proper clip, but the wire is refusing to cooperate. But persistence will pay off, I'm sure, as it does with anything. So yeah, you know, this is they tell us what's going on, but for the most part these things just go over our heads and we don't think too deeply about it, or we get wrapped up in the whole political wranglings and ramblings that go on, telling us to be stressed, to be worried, and of course eventually they will generate some kind of war scenario, and everyone of course believes that that's the only option. Well, not everyone, but a lot of people were kind of told that. Of course, everyone's looking out for themselves, aren't they? You know, we would naturally worry that the price of oil will go up and what have you. You know, I used to worry about, you know, the debt. You know, countries being in debt and things like that means nothing. Means absolutely nothing. It's just yeah. It's just because it's just, again, it's artificially created. Artificial debt, enslavement, yeah, financial enslavement, and this is the arena that we're in, the global arena of global enslavement. And as I was saying yesterday, while it's not physical necessarily. Well, it is, you know, we are physically bound with you know, something like our dependency on oil. It's a physical thing, but it's also, you know, that physical dependency is created by the mind control that has us believe that there are no other options, or has us believe that the cartels in charge of our physical resources know best. And you know, when you look at what happens to these so-called underdeveloped countries, or the countries that haven't joined, you know, the World Bank. I mean, that's what these wars are all about, when they go and invade Iran, Iraq, and Afghanistan and Libya. You know, Libya was a threat to the World Bank because it was going to come out with its own gold standard. So they got rid of Gaddafi, didn't they? You know, that's just, so you have these mercenary armies that think they're killing and being killed to protect the country, honour and all that jazz, when really all they're doing is working for the cartel, the global mafia. And so this is just amazing how people will argue about the obvious, even when they're telling us in the mainstream news. They're telling us what they're doing. They're basically saying, for example, OPEC has put a halt on production in order to keep the price of oil high, when in fact they could be producing more and make the prices lower, but they want to maintain this artificial scarcity. And it's just really simple. Sure, that you could go into all the different things that are happening, all the layers of arguing and stuff, but that's just irrelevant. The fundamental matter is that the oil is there, can be extracted endlessly, it seems, from the earth, and it is only then that control the output. And the same goes for diamonds, as I was saying. I met a diamond retailer or wholesaler once, and the way they work is basically, even if they get to the position of being a diamond wholesaler, what happens is once a year, I've lost my little wire here, I'm not sure if it's still on the there it is. Once a year, the De Beers rep comes along with a suitcase of diamonds and says, right, that's basically your choice. You can have these or these, it's up to you, but these are the ones that we've chosen for you to buy from us. And there you go. So even the diamond wholesaler is limited. Sure, they might become wealthy to an extent, but they will not become as wealthy as the De Beers. And I think this goes on all the way up through the chain of elites. Even someone like, let's say, just for example, I don't have any inside knowledge on this, but it's just an example. Richard Branson, who obviously is a smart bloke and has able to become very wealthy from of course, once you get to a certain position of money and power, then you're in a position to buy pretty much anything, aren't you? But there's millionaires, and then there's billionaires, and there's probably trillionaires, and each level is very, very different to the other. The millionaire might aspire to become a billionaire. There's a big difference between the type of yacht a millionaire can own and a billionaire can own. In fact, most of us in our lives might well earn and spend well in the region of $1 million or pounds, but it all just goes on living expenses, doesn't it? But I'm sure if we add it all up, you add up all the money you've earned since you were a kid, since since doing part-time work and stuff. It's quite amazing what we earn and spend and feel that we have to spend on these things which are, again, we're told are limited resources, or artificial scarcity is created, or planned obsolescence. Light bulbs and motorbikes and cars, they're designed not to last as long as they could, and that was the beauty of products made. It's very true. They don't make them like they used to. They used to make light bulbs that would last 100 years, but they don't anymore. They make light bulbs that will last you no more than 6 months. Sure, it makes business sense, but it doesn't do anyone else any other favours, does it? But anyway, people like the elite, for example, such as Mr. Branson, he might have just fallen for the trillionaire's blag that he should, while he's blagging people to get money out of them because they want to go to space, he's also being blagged by the trillionaires that it's possible to get to space and go around the globe. So even those guys are victims even the elite are victims of the mind control placed upon us. And so, you know, there's no need to feel jealous of the people with all the money. The more you've got, the more you've got to lose. All they've got is headaches. Yeah. And they still have to. They are still slaves. Slaves to the system, right? Because they're being blagged. Yeah. And you know, just looking at, for example, the figures of people that leave college these days saddled with debt, usually something in the region of $8,000 to $10,000 worth of debt by the time they leave college and start looking for work. And for a majority of people who have got themselves an education so they can go into the global workplace, their idea of wealth is just to be debt-free. But basically they're going to be in debt for the rest of their lives, because a lot of the time before they've paid off the education loans, they're saddled with more debt, such as, well, I mean, the things that are most expensive in life are the things that are most essential. You know, housing, healthcare, childcare, all these things which should be free or provided, you know, we can collectively provide for as a society, we are meant to pay for. Yeah, and so again, this whole thing, the globe, spinning globe, is all part of it. It kind of seals the deal for the global elite, because it stops people thinking, or makes people believe that they're stuck on this globe of finite resources, and that we have to leave all the decisions to those who know best, when really we all know best. There's a one of my subs, a shout out to TMF. I feel really I feel for you, man, because faced with a dilemma where, to be honest, I honestly don't know if you're a guy or a girl, TMF, because you talk about your partner. I'm assuming you're a guy, and you've had a child. You've got a 3-year-old child with your partner, but you know, your partner wants to kind of, you want to go to Greece and you want to make a move. You want to get some sun. You're in Scotland and it's raining and it's crap, and you have this. There's something in your heart telling you to go to Greece and seek a new way of life, but your partner is resisting that. And of course, it's tough if you want to do things that you don't have the support of your partner from. It is really tough, but ultimately, I think people who resist change, even if you're in a very dire situation, are doing so from that fear-based mindset, where it's kind of, you know, the what if, or I've just got to carry on working and earning the money, stay in that comfort zone. And yeah, we're always having to face people telling us, oh, you can't do this, you can't do that, what if. And of course, this, when you realise that the whole globe thing is a complete lie, then you realise that the whole thing about infinite possibilities is what our lives are. It's a realm in which there are a gazillion possibilities that can happen, that can work out, if only we make the move. Yeah. I'm here in Thailand. I've been here more than half my life, more than the years I spent growing up in the UK. I had no idea. Well, I did have a slight idea what I do here. I did some research. I did some did some courses so that I could earn a living here, but that's all changed. I can't just walk into a school and teach now because you have to be much more qualified than you were in the old days when you came here. So for a while I was able to, but ultimately I still, you know, the whole citizenship thing, I'm married, I've got kids, but it doesn't really make much difference to my residency status or anything like that, and I'm faced with that every few months, but it always works out, you know, so I've given up worrying about it, because of course I used to get stressed and stuff, and the thing is, at the end of the day, my wife and kids are here, and eventually it works out, and even if I've got to leave them for a short time sometimes, it works out in the long run. So, you know, TMF, you have this feeling that you should make the move to Greece, then, and do the homework, do the research, find out your options, and kind of, you know, instill that confidence in yourself, and instill that confidence in your partner as well, because the only stumbling block really is that lack of confidence, or the fear of the unknown. So, and that goes for all of us in whatever situation we might be, because we're always faced with these attachments to the material world, and especially this mindset that has us believe that there are limited possibilities, especially when we've been raised in a particular culture, to believe that things should be and could be only a particular way, and this is what you'll find. You'll find the people in the comment sections just who refuse to listen. They don't listen. Their only aim is to disrupt and antagonize and defend their own, project their own fear, and try their best to stop people thinking in ways that could ultimately bring about positive change. So screw them. I've had to ban a few people recently that were very, you know, their tactics are getting increasingly subtle. They'll start off and they'll build it up over a few weeks or months to come across as friendly or oh, you know, pragmatic. I'm asking questions, I'm open-minded, but eventually they get to the point where, even though you've taken the time to talk to them and explain to them your position, they still have this preconception that you believe a certain way or think a certain way, and they obviously haven't been listening, and then they start, you know, they increase the level of attack, and so yeah, you guys have been banned. UK amateurs, you're banned just for being a dick, because I gave you the time of day, talked to you, and at first you were pleasant, but you just got nasty recently. So go and be nasty on your own channel or someone else's channel. Can't be asked with you anymore, you're wasting my time. And this is it, isn't it? You know, people will waste more time and energy defending their belief than it would take to do some research or take the time to look at our own beliefs and just maybe sit quietly and confront our own fears. And again, this is one of the biggest problems we all have, is we live in a world of distractions, and I think one of the most difficult things many of us have to do, is something I had to force myself to do, is to be alone with our own thoughts. Yeah, without the distraction, and it's quite horrifying at first. It's very, very scary, because you know that you're going to start thinking about things that you've put off thinking about, and it might be situations that you've created yourself. It might be, you know, I got cut off mid-flow there. Not sure when it stopped recording, but I was just hopefully getting a point across about just yeah, having that confidence to to follow the heart, really. Again, this guy TMF, who's obviously struggling with what the heart wants to do. So it's like, you know, the universe is telling the heart that if you just get up and go and do this thing, go to Greece or whatever it might be, then things will work out. We can't predict the future. We can't really know exactly how it will all pan out. But when the heart is telling you to do something, it's different to an emotion, a desire, like, you know, I want to be wealthy or whatever. I think there's a difference between that kind of, you know, the desires, this kind of false plastic world that we are sold in the media, compared to something that you instinctively know will turn out, will create something better than the situation you find yourself in. So these opportunities do come up in life, and of course most of the time people will try to tell you from their perspective, their point of view, why you should or shouldn't do something, or why you can or cannot do something, or what's right or what's wrong. That's just their view, that's just their world view, that's just their perspective, yeah? And it's usually based on this idea that we live in an objective realm, but it's completely opposite. This realm is for our, if anything, it's for our subjective experience, and, you know, make of it what you will. Oh, that's better. Yeah, but of course we're told with this whole, this kind of possibly the thing, isn't it? You know, there's maybe this, apart, you know, the mechanics of it are not really fussed. The physics of it, it's here. We're in this realm, and it, yeah, sure, it's nice to kind of work out how it works or why it works, but maybe the why is much more important than the how. And the why is so that we can have this subjective experience. But of course, what we're sold is an objective reality, and that's what the globe is. It attempts to turn our subjective reality into an objective reality. This thing just isn't going. It's being very stubborn. And so I'm trying to work out the best way to fix this. It's a simple fix. It's one of those things where, you know, it's easy to do. We're just got to clamp off the fuel line. But using these wires, I was looking for a thinner wire just now, but can't find one. So I'll suss it out in a minute. Yeah. And this is what it's all about. This is what, you know, this is what the whole realization is, when we realize we're not on a spinning globe. You know, it's not to swap one belief for another, that we're in a dome with you know, ice walls and things like that. That might be the case, who knows. I think the whole point really, though, is intelligent design, isn't it? We're in this place. Let me just have my ciggy away from the motorbike. We're in this place that is obviously intelligently designed, however the mechanics of it work. And so why is it intelligently designed? Why are we here? Why is it all happening? Well, That's the thing, isn't it? We can all be distracted by this idea that we should be exploring space and aiming to get onto other planets and what have you. That is just a distraction, because it takes that intrinsic desire in humans to do good, to create a better future, which is what anyone with kids wants to do. And this is what I sense is happening with this sub TMF, who's got a 3-year-old and is looking to create a better future, but is being held back by a partner who wants to cling on to the status quo. Can't blame them, but you've got to. Again, it's just a case of instilling that confidence in that person. It's a lack of confidence in the other person that has been bred into us. Yeah. When really, again, we're in this realm. However it works, but it's intelligently designed, and possibly the only reason that we are here is to experience it and to grow from that experience, evolve spiritually, consciously, metaphorically, whatever. So and this is what people fight against. This is what the trolls, this is what the globe defending trolls do. And because they do not understand what flat Earth really means. And there are other so-called flat earthers out there who are perpetuating this false dichotomy as well. Because they saw flat Earth as trending and have jumped on the bandwagon, but they didn't do the work that leads up to flat Earth becoming a natural realization of the previous realizations that come about the total mind enslavement that we find ourselves in this crazy global society. And again, you know, there are globe defenders out there who have been very successful in their own walk, and have probably contributed great things to society. Everything happens for a reason, yeah? People get wealthy for a reason, people get poor for a reason, people have accidents for a reason, people become incapacitated for a reason. One thing I try to always avoid saying to myself is, it's not supposed to be this way. Obviously, if we find ourselves in a tough situation or a dangerous situation, you know, whatever it might be, you know, then you have to do something. You have to take action to get out of that situation. But that's the point, having that awareness and taking the action. Anyway, my memory's running low. Thanks very much for joining me, and I'll carry on, try and get the bike fixed. Thank you very much. Cheers.